Several members of the NAACP have been arrested after they staged a very peaceful protest in the Mobile, Alabama office of Jeff Sessions. Now, Jeff Sessions was Donald Trump's pick for Attorney General, and understandably, there are a number of members of the Black community who are not happy with that pick because of Jeff Sessions' comments about the Black community in the past. So members of the NAACP staged this protest. We have video of it proving how incredibly quiet and peaceful it really was. But let me tell you exactly how many people got arrested and who it included. So the arrest of 5 men and 1 woman included NAACP President Cornell W. Brooks. They faced charges of criminal trespass in the 2nd degree, and that's according to the police in the area. Mugshot shows who was arrested, one of which was a white dude. There he is.
You can be part of the NAACP and be white.
No.
Everybody
I know.
go join.
No, totally no. I mean, hello, that one woman, I mean, she pretended like she was Black, but still.
Oh, what Dolezal?
Dolezal, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right, moving on. If you're wondering what it is that they're asking for during this protest, Cornell Brooks said the following: "We are asking the senator to withdraw his name for consideration as Attorney General for the President-elect Donald Trump, to withdraw the nomination. In the midst of rampant voter suppression, this nominee has failed to acknowledge the reality of voter suppression while pretending to believe in the myth of voter fraud." Now, I'm going to give you a little information and context about Jeff Sessions and his past involving racial bias. But before we do that, just take a look at this video just to give you a sense of what the atmosphere was like during this protest.
God, we thank you for the opportunity in the NAACP for standing up for the voices of those who are marginalized, for those who have been left out, those who have been cast out on the side. Allow us, God, this act to go forth in your name, so that we will rise and stand up on the true meaning of your words, so that justice will roll down like waters, and righteousness like a mighty stream. This we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen.
So this was an act of civil disobedience. As soon as the cops showed up, they shook the cops' hands, said that this was meant to be peaceful, stated what they were there for, and then you see how it all ended.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. I saw a bunch of angry Black men there. I mean, talking about how the flood should come and, wreck the place. No, I believe that was a flood of righteousness. Okay, so that's how you're supposed to do civil disobedience. That's fantastic. Mm-hmm. And as I saw it, I thought, man, I think we're going to get some record-breaking civil disobedience in the next 4 years. So, and for the folks out there who keep saying, give Trump a chance, his cabinet picks are an action you're allowed to judge. So it's not like, hey, he hasn't done anything yet. No, he picked a whole bunch of people. That is action. That is an indication of which direction he's going to go. For example, if he had picked as his Secretary of Treasury Bernie Sanders, I think a lot of Republicans would have been like,
they'd be upset.
They might want to, or forget Bernie Sanders, because a lot of Republicans actually like Bernie Sanders. If he'd picked Hillary Clinton as his Secretary of Treasury, right?
I think everyone would be.
I think everybody would be upset,
right? Yeah.
No, but then would you be allowed to judge him on that? Of course you would, right? So the question is then, should we judge Jeff Sessions? And it's, I think, actually a complicated one. Mm-hmm. So there's a couple of different elements here. There is what he said in the past, and how bad is it? Are you going to hold it against him? We'll get to that in 1 second. There is some of the policies that they just disagree with. There, I don't agree with the protesters. Mm-hmm. So they say that among their concerns are that he supports a border wall. Yeah, the guy who supports the border wall won the election. That he is for drug policies that fuel mass incarceration. I couldn't agree more with you. I think it is hideous what we're doing with mass incarceration. But the guy who's for mass incarceration won the election. And he's skeptical about climate change. Donald Trump's even more skeptical about climate change, and he won the election. So I wouldn't protest those by themselves. Now, when you take specific actions and we know the harmful consequences you're going to have, that's where I would say, okay, then when he does that, let's do that. But that doesn't have much to do with Jeff Sessions. So that's my opinion on it, okay? Now, but there is one policy matter that matters the most, and it is about the core of what they're saying here, which is this whole myth of voter fraud, and it actually also relates to what he's done in the past. So let's give you his past first, and then we'll come back to the issue that matters the most.
So back in the 80s, Jeff Sessions was accused and caught of saying some negative things about black people. And so these accusations came from people who actually worked closely with him, one of which was a black employee. So Sessions' former deputy, Thomas Figures, who is black, said Sessions told him to be careful about what he said to, quote, white folks after Figures got into a heated argument with a white colleague. And he also testified that Sessions called him a boy on multiple occasions. Also, he said that Sessions had joked about the KKK, saying he thought its members were okay until he learned that they smoked marijuana. Isn't that incredible, though? Like, wanting to go around, you know, discriminating is the least of it, right? Literally hurting people of color is not so bad, but you smoke that reefer, you're a bad person. You're not okay anymore. Also, a Justice Department lawyer, J. Gerald Hebert, testified that Sessions had described the NAACP and the American Civil Liberties Union as un-American and communist-inspired. I like how as soon as they don't like something, it's a communist-inspired thing.
Yeah. That kind of talk is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So when I first read the Thomas Figures story a while back, when Sessions' name was first up, I thought, well, look, if he works directly under Sessions. If Sessions pulls him aside and says, hey, look, Thomas, man, I got a lot of respect for you, but we're in Alabama. I'm trying to look out for you. So be careful what you say around white folks. And sometimes doesn't, I got your back, right? But be careful what you say around them. Okay, that's a totally different conversation, right? But then you read further. That wasn't the context. It was, hey, boy, be careful what you say around white folks. You got that, boy? Now, that's a different conversation. And that's why Thomas Figures came forward. It wasn't like, oh, he was trying to look out for me, but I'm going to, no. And he said he called him boy all the time. And when you make jokes about how you like the Klan except they smoke weed, right, you know where this guy is coming from. But the problem is, not just that he thinks the NAACP, that is the preeminent African-American group in the country, is a bunch of commies, right? And you might see why that they might want to protest him then, right? And this was the NAACP doing it. But he actually then uses that in exercising his power. And he went after these three guys who were civil rights workers and charged them with voter fraud. So he doesn't. What's much more important is the content and the substance. And so you could argue about whether his statements are racist. I think you'd lose that argument. But I guess you could make that argument, right? But his actions matter so much more. And so in the reality, the voter fraud is nearly non-existent in this country. That's a fact. So when Trump says there's millions of people who voted illegally, even Republicans have to concede on television. No, that's not true. It didn't actually happen. That's just a figment of his imagination. There is no evidence for it. You can believe it with all your heart, but it ain't true. That doesn't make it true. Just because, I wish they voted illegally, right? It doesn't work that way. So when he goes and does that, he is trying to suppress the vote, and usually minority votes, African-American votes, and now he would be the guy in charge of enforcing all of the laws of the United States if he becomes Attorney General. That's a thing you protest him for.
Yeah, I think it's fine for them to protest all of it. I think the mass incarceration issue is a real issue, and
it's a gigantic issue. I'm not saying it isn't.
I know you're not saying it is, but I think someone like Jeff Sessions, who's been very clear about the fact that he does not agree with marijuana legalization on a local level, on a state level, is someone who is likely to increase the number of raids, who's likely to not care at all about states' rights when it comes to that particular issue. And so, yeah, I mean, if you were to predict the future with Jeff Sessions as Attorney General, it would be very easy to predict that mass incarceration will not only continue to be a problem in the United States, it will be exacerbated. So I like the way that they did this protest, but one final note that I wanted to make. Look, civil disobedience is great, and I am not calling for violence. I am not calling for riots. I'm not calling for anything where people get hurt or people damage property or anything like that. But at the same time, look, this was a protest that, in my opinion, is going to be ineffective, right? Because it's a very convenient protest. It is convenient for the people that they are protesting. You call the cops, they get arrested. We do a story on it. By tomorrow, everyone has forgotten about it. The idea of protesting is not to make it as convenient as possible for everyone, including the people that you're supposed to be protesting, right? So every once in a while when we do a story about Black Lives Matter and they take to the streets and they don't follow every single law or every single rule, they don't take out every single permit, and people are like, oh, would you look at that? Lawlessness. No, but what's the point of a protest if you're not supposed to ruffle some feathers and get people to think? You see what I'm saying?
I do, but I think I have a better strategy. So, look, here's the part you're right about. Democracy Spring, when we had the most amount of people arrested at the Capitol in U.S. history, almost no mainstream media coverage. And I asked a mainstream reporter one day, I said, if we had gotten violent, would you guys have covered it? He said, absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
No question about it. We would have been all over it, right? But instead, we were enormously peaceful, and so they're like, oh yeah, that's boring. There's just a lot of people who want to change the government, and they're willing to risk, their careers, et cetera, to do that. Boring, okay. And then, but if anyone did anything physical, they would cover it, but then they'd yell at you, right? So there's no winning, right? So what's my plan? My plan, as always, is relentlessness. So let there be an avalanche of righteousness, and I believe that we will get their attention. We're going to do it the right way. I love this protest. And you keep on doing it until they can't ignore it anymore. So the problem with relentlessness is that it's hard. You have to keep on going, and oftentimes when it seems hopeless. But in my life, I've seen that it almost always works. Help us with Operation Watchdog. Help us hire 4 new reporting teams. We could be the watchers on the wall. Make sure we keep Trump and the establishment in check. TYTnetwork.com/go.